Good afternoon. Welcome. Meeting will come to order. And with that, I'd like to ask you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there support?
Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to the request of the property owner at 1931 East Valley Road for approval of the variance to allow an alteration to the existing non-conforming home and detached garage, and for approval of setback variances to construct the proposed structures. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Eric Peach. I'm with Giffords Webster, the city's planning consultant. Our first item under consideration is for a home addition at 1931 East Valley Road. This is an existing home site. They're requesting setback variances. This site is located within the A1 zoning district, so the district standards of the A1 zoning district are what applies in this particular case. So we have an aerial showing the surrounding area. This is located essentially at the dead end of East Valley Road, and then a zoomed in picture showing the existing home where the end of the street is located here, and then just some of the existing tree coverage on the back side of the existing lot. So as we apply the yard determination graphic, you'll see that the existing house is relatively close to the property line along East Valley Road, and so they have a relatively small or narrow front yard highlighted in green. The two side yards are highlighted in yellow, and then they have quite an extensive rear yard highlighted in orange. So the area of focus today is on, again, it's the existing structure, but it's this portion here. And as you can see, the setback line of 60 feet is located here, and the existing house, built in the 1970s, I believe, is an existing non-conforming building in that it encroaches into the setback. So what does that look like? From an aerial's perspective, the setback is approximately running right through the center of the home. On the roof plan, the 65-foot setback is here. It's this portion of the house that is proposing activity, and so that triggers the non-conforming section of the ordinance, and so by making improvements or proposing improvements in that location requires a setback variance. Because with existing nonconformities, they're okay to exist as is until you propose a change to them. They're not allowed, they need to be removed unless a dimensional variance is requested. So that's what's before you today, giving some perspectives from elevations. The existing house shown on the top, it's this area that's proposing what's shaded in green on the bottom here. So as you can see, they're building or proposing a structure on top of the existing building footprint. So the idea is that they're not going any more forward towards the street than the existing house. And so we did an analysis. We've met with the applicant and the architect a few months ago in preparation at pre-submittal meetings to discuss those kinds of details with them. And then on the back side of the house, you can see here, this is what's existing. This is the perspective of the second story addition from the backside's perspective, and then there's also a one-floor addition on the backside of the house that doesn't have any variances requested with it because it's in compliance as it's behind the house. So as we go through the ordinance dimensional standards, everything that's highlighted in purple is what requires a variance. So there's 3 variances that have to do with the existing home. And we'll outline those in just a second, but it's these here highlighted in yellow that the existing home, because it's in the setback, the proposed addition triggers a variance request in order to make improvements there. So, and also the minimum setback requirement shown on the top, again, that setback is 65 feet and they're proposing 41.9. So there's in a sense, a separate variance for the minimum setback which is to say they're held to comply with 65 feet, but it's their proposal that's taking them to the 41.9, which is where the existing house is. Otherwise, they would be held to the 65-foot setback standard. And then, because it's a main structure, the ordinance requires the algebraic setback analysis, and so that's where the remaining 4 variances come from, and those are spelled out and highlighted there on the chart. So, don't pay too much attention to the clutter, but this is just the aerial showing how the algebraic setback was applied. So, again, the outline of the existing house, this dashed line here shows where there's the setback encroachment of the existing structure. So we have to apply the setback analysis through the existing building, taking into account, does the existing building satisfy or meet the algebraic setback analysis or not? There's two instances where it does not, and then the remaining portions behind the existing structure or in addition to the existing structure where it does not comply as well. So just to give you some visual perspective, the home addition is occurring here. And again, that's on top of the existing structure, and it's not extending any further out than what's currently there. So again, just to give a little bit of a perspective of the variances that are requested, there's 6 in total. 3 are related to the existing home, and those are highlighted in pink. So it's variances 1, 3, and 4, and then 3 related to the proposed addition, that being 2, 5, and 6. So again, this is variance 1 and 2. It's to allow the existing 41-foot 9-inch setback to remain with the existing, or with an addition, that being the expansion. So those are highlighted here towards the front of the building. And then variance 3 is to allow a 68-foot 11-inch setback in lieu of the 80.29-foot setback for the existing house. So it's over here where the test line goes through the existing house, but it drops. So we had to take that into consideration to see, well, does the existing house meet the algebraic setback analysis? In most cases, if this was a building that complied with the setback, it probably would pass, but because it's an encroaching structure or it's in close proximity to the front property line, it was found to not, and so technically we would have to ask for a variance for that. And then variance 4 is to allow a 53.875-foot setback in lieu of the 73-foot setback for the existing home, and that's the line that's highlighted in green here. And then variance 5, to allow 74-foot 11-inch setback in lieu of the 84-foot 1 3/4 inch setback of the proposed addition. So it's just going through that algebraic setback analysis to determine where are there areas that are not meeting the algebraic setback. And then variance 6 is to allow a 58-foot 1-inch setback in lieu of the 76 11 3/4 inch setback for the proposed addition, and that's the green highlighted line here. And again, the variances are laid out here for you to take into consideration, but again, what's before you is an existing home, that's existing non-conforming building, that's what's creating the hardship for the proposed additions, but the homeowner with his growing family is proposing additions to the livable space of the second story of the house. And with that proposal, again, working with the applicant and the architect, we've determined that these 6 variances are what's required in order to move forward with permitting. I can answer any questions if you have any. The architect or the applicant is here to answer any questions.
There's a house in back of them, is that correct, or does that property drop off?
So there is a house behind on West Valley Road, if that's your question here. But again, everything that's occurring in terms of improvements to the existing house is more oriented towards the East Valley side of the property.
Other questions? Is the homeowner here or the homeowner's representative? Would you like to say anything?
Good afternoon to the board. Thank you. For for having us here to discuss this unique piece of property. This is Michael Coleman, the homeowner. The reason that the house is actually being proposed to be expanded is because of a growing family. 3 young children in the house, one actually newborn, that has encouraged them to expand the second floor of the house. The second floor, the desire for a second floor master is what is driving this. The property would support a first floor master, would support an addition in other places, but not necessarily as efficiently as working over the existing footprint. So the plans were developed to try and maximize the existing property, the existing structure, as well as give them an opportunity to expand that second floor. As Eric just beautifully said, the analysis of this is that it is, because of its non-conforming status, it's not so efficient or straightforward without these variances. The goal is to build directly over the existing footprint. About 1,000 square feet is being requested on the second floor, and about 350 square feet of that is what's considered to be non-conforming. The 300 square feet that's being proposed to add on the first floor does not require any variances. So the first floor addition can move forward, but the second floor requires a deeper dive and your expertise to give us direction and guidance.
So the second floor more than covers the garage?
Correct. The second floor actually is currently covering, the second floor proposed is the garage and the mudroom that connects the garage to the main house. Toggling where, Eric?
So either forward or backwards.
Oh, got it. So the area that's being shown in green and black is the existing mudroom and 3-car attached garage.
Oh, okay.
And that's the area that's being proposed for the second floor, roughly 1,000 square feet. The other feature that we did not highlight was that there is a significant slope in the backyard, and that's probably why the house was located where it is on the property, because it was the only flat portion of the land. Back when the house was built, it was likely conforming. I don't believe that there was a 65-foot setback at that time. Otherwise, I can't imagine they would have built the house where we built it. So the property from East Valley to the neighbor to the west is at least a 20 to 24-foot elevation change. So building behind the house gets to be problematic because of topography.
Just a quick question. The roof line then of the addition would be in alignment with the top of the main part of the house, is that correct?
So let's,
Oh, there it is. So it's
So-
a little bit lower, yeah.
yes, the primary bedroom area is on the lower far right-hand side, has a slightly higher ridge because of the depth of that particular portion of the property, or excuse me, of the footprint. And then the connector, we're calling it, which is what connects the primary suite to the main house, has a lower roof. The eave will remain the same as the lower eave on the existing main house.
Is there anyone else that would like to make comments from the community? City's engineer? Nothing? Any further discussion? We entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the following variances on the proposed motion. It's a little lengthy.
There are 6 of them this time.
We have had some discussion.
Yeah, you should
before
short.
and after the meetings about the reading of the actual proposal, either affirmative or negative.
Is there a way to shorten
And
it?
we've decided that it's worth doing. So appreciate your fortitude.
Fine. Be that way.
There's water ready for you.
A variance from sections 24-196 and 24-228 to allow a 41-foot 9-inch setback in lieu of the ordinance required 65-foot setback along the front property line. A variance from section 24-228 to allow an enlargement and alteration to an existing non-conforming structure. A variance from section 24-196V to allow a 68-foot 11-inch setback for the existing home in lieu of the 80-foot 29-inch algebraic setback requirement. A variance from section 25-196V in parentheses V in parentheses to allow a 53-foot, I don't know how you get 875 inches setback in lieu of the ordinance required from 73 feet 5 inches algebraic setback requirement. A variance from section 25-196 in parentheses, little v in parentheses, to allow a 74-foot 11-inch setback for the home with proposed additions in lieu of the 84-foot 1 3/4-inch algebraic setback requirement. And a variance from section 25-196 in parentheses, little v in parentheses, to allow a 58-foot 1-inch setback for the home with proposed additions in lieu of the 76-foot 11 3/4-inch algebraic setback requirement. These variances would allow the homeowner to add a second-story addition above the existing garage and add a first-floor addition to the existing home. The applicant has demonstrated practical difficulty for the following reasons. 1, strict compliance with the requirements would unreasonably prevent or severely limit the owner from improving the property. The current home sits on the far western side of the property and already encroaches into the requirement front setback. The existing garage encroaches into the side setback. These structures were built in 1973 before the current ordinances went into effect. Thus, both structures are considered existing non-conforming structures. Pursuant to the ordinance, existing non-conforming structures are not to be modified or expanded. However, in this case, strictly adhering to this requirement would unreasonably prevent the current homeowner from improving upon their primary residence. 2, the requested variances would do substantial justice to the property owner as well as other property owners. This home was built in 1973. The current owner simply seeks to improve their property in line with the other homes in the area. These modifications will update the existing home, which will benefit the neighbors and the homeowner. 3, the plight of the property owner is due to the uniqueness of the property. The home and garage were built long before the current ordinance went into effect. The home was built at the far western edge of the property, a design choice that is unique when compared to other properties in the area. For this reason, the current home and garage are classed as existing non-conforming structures, a class which is also unique when compared to other properties in the area. 4, the proponent's problem is not self-created, as the location and layout of the existing structures is not within the control of the PAC storm, water runoff, or impact utilities. Finally, the proposal includes the addition of a leaching basin to the site, which will improve the drainage on the property. Given the lack of impact to surrounding properties, the fact that the homeowners will be able to improve on their property consistent with other homes in the area, and the fact that the issues on the property are unique and not self-created, I find that the granting of the variances will not adversely affect the purposes or objectives of the master plan.
Thank you for reading the motion and making the motion. Is there support?
Support.
Any-
Support.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ian Hogue. I'm an associate planner with Giffords Webster. I'm going to walk us through the next application at 685 Hillcrest for a landscape open space variance. To start, the site is located in the southwest corner of the city in the A1 zoning district, and the variance request is to not meet the required 80% landscape open space. So there are some natural features and a brook located in the rear of the site. None of the proposed improvements impact that in any way, but we just wanted to make note of that. So just a closer aerial of the existing site. Back in 2025, the site came in for building permit applications for a home addition, as well as a planning commission application for some side and rear yard improvements for a pool, sports court, and a pergola. All of which were approved. And then earlier this year, the applicant came in and made some changes to the site with their building permit application. And within that application, we noticed that the driveway was reconfigured, as well as some small changes to the sports court and the other improvements that were approved by the Planning Commission. So this is the proposed layout. Key thing to note is the driveway layout is quite different from the original. The next slide will show a comparison between the two. So it's the driveway layout as well as the sport court location, as well as slight changes to the patio space around the pool.
Yep.
Yep.
Did I understand you say these changes have already been made? Or?
They're proposed.
Okay.
Yep, nothing's been built. It's just they got approval back in 2025, and then they came back and made some slight changes to the site. So they're currently not constructed. They're seeking approval to construct them.
Thank you.
Yep. And then again,
So they want to have two driveways out, one on Vaughn and one on Hillcrest.
not yet. I'll show the next slide will show the difference. So the map and site plan on the left is what was originally approved along within that building permit application and the planning commission application. And then on the right is what they're currently proposing. So the key change here is the driveway addition and the layout, as well as the sport court located right here, slightly reduced in size and slightly shifted away from the pool, along with some changes to the patio spaces around the pool area. So they originally, as of today, they have access along Vaughn Road, but they are proposing to change that driveway configuration to just take access from Hillcrest.
So existing is 3 points of access. Is that dark green?
So the dark green is the driveway exemption for the landscape open space calculation. So that is just demonstrating it's the most direct route and what they're allowed to get an exemption for. It's roughly 1.5%. So that's not another access point. That is just demonstrating
what is available.
Correct, yeah. Or demonstrating what they're exempt for. Yep. So the access point today is here and then here. It's only 2 access points, and now they're proposing to reduce that to 1. So just one variance request. It's for them to not meet the 80% open space requirement. They're currently proposing 76.97%. So a slight reduction, just over 3%. And then, as noted previously, the main changes revolve around the sport court reducing in size by 300 square feet, but the driveway increasing roughly 2,500 square feet in size. That's it for my presentation. Leah is here to go through any engineering concerns or comments. I'm also happy to take any additional questions, and then we can turn it over to the applicant if need be.
Thank you.
Yep.
Would anyone from the community like to make a further report or a comment? Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, Leah Michaels with HRC. Just to point to some engineering things, really no issues as far as utilities or walls or other items that we look at. Just wanted to point to some of the storm improvements that they are proposing. They are proposing a private storm sewer to catch runoff from the new driveway. There's 2 catch basins proposed near the driveway that will carry water to the rear. There is a natural feature along the back. So taking some excess stormwater into the rear. And then they also, as part of their other plan for the other upgrades in the rear, they do have a storm sewer system proposed around the patio that again pushes water towards the natural feature in the rear of the yard. So that's all I have as far as engineering goes.
Could you go back to the first slide? I just wanted to study it just for a moment.
Yep, so our slide just says about how the drainage is proposed not to be altered. The scope of work does not appear to impact any utilities or other public or private utilities in the area. And then we always look at landscape walls to make sure they're in compliance as an engineering item that we review.
Yeah, just a question, from an engineering standpoint, wouldn't this increase the runoff to the creek or whatever's running through there? Because you've got all this impervious surface, even though there's a storm drain, you're just taking whatever's on that surface and dumping it into the stream versus allowing it to sink into the ground.
Yeah, so I believe these two items here are leaching basins to absorb some of the water before it eventually
so
ends
they're
up
leaching.
here. Yep, and then they do have it so it sheet flows towards the rear as well.
Because when we do this, all we're doing is putting more water into the system that's going to go downstream, and then it's going to be somebody else's problem. So just want to make sure we're controlling it and not adding more to the existing drainage problems we have.
Yep. Sorry, I should have noted that those are leaching basins there too.
So what, tell me the solution again so that it doesn't do that.
I think this, well, Leah, you could speak to it. The leaching basin is going to absorb
The intent is to hold the water and have it filtrate back into the ground to maintain it on site before it exits.
It never hits it. It's not supposed to hit the, right, it keeps it
It's supposed to keep most of it on site.
on site
And
and
then it has
dissipates
an
right into the
outflow.
ground.
So there's not piped continuity between this and the public sewer?
There is no public sewer here. Nope, the outfall area is the water in the rear of the home.
What's the size of the leaching basin?
Oh, I don't know, I think we could ask the applicant that. I don't know that off the top of my head.
The blueprints were pretty tiny. Maybe numbers.
So who's in back of them? Who else will share whatever that problem might be?
So here's the property. And then this is the rear of the home. So this is Vaughn along the road, and then Hillcrest comes along here. And this is the property we're speaking of.
And there's two leaching basins, or just one? One of the leaching basins?
I believe there's two here, and then there's one in the rear also.
So there are a couple houses close to them.
So there's a neighboring property to the east, and then also one to the south along Vaughn.
I think that's more than adequate, won't you?
We felt it was sufficient for what they're proposing.
Anyone from the community wishing to make a comment? Not, is there further discussion of the committee?
I'd just like more details on the leaching basin, the size and the capacity. But that'll have to come from the applicant, I would assume. Do we have the
And
applicant?
we're ready for a motion then.
No, he has questions.
Hi, my name is Jacob Mansur with Track Landscaping. I'm the designer and the contractor for this project at 685 Hillcrest. Thank you to our friends at HRC for putting that together nicely. There are indeed 3 leaching basins for this property, and we did not disrupt the natural flow of the grade. The grade naturally tapers toward that stream, but we're going to help mitigate it water tapering to it is going to absorb by the clean stone, and then our pipe into those leaching basins is going to be absorbed into the earth as well. I was a bit in the back and forth between my engineer who did, I'm an engineer with an engineer who did the site plan for us and HRC, and they have all those details in the inlets and outlets, and they approved it sufficient. And like they said, we're actually reducing our entry from Vaughan. We're going to only make one single entry to Hillcrest. And due to that fact, we're going to just kind of enlarge in the parameter of our driveway to make it operable and useful for my client and his growing family. And then the other items, just to kind of mitigate too, we shrunk the sport court down to like the absolute smallest size. Yeah, you see this, we shrunk that sport court down to the smallest size so where it's still functional and can use it, but kind of letting us get more size into that driveway. And also, he mentioned some like small changes around the patio. We also reduced that square footage and footprint to help mitigate water runoff.
So the picture on the right, the proposed, that looks different than what we've got on the plan here. Maybe I think maybe it's the angle I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it is a funky angle.
And the driveway is 20 feet wide, is that the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just from the standpoint of trying to get as close as you can to the 80%, is there any reason why you couldn't narrow the driveway a bit? And just a question.
Hello, my name is Christopher Red. I'm the homeowner. So as you can see, we're off of Vaughan. I have 3 little children, 3 little boys, 7, 8, and 9. They're basically triplets, and they're on their bikes and their scooters. And we have Amazon and FedEx vans just pulling in pretty quickly, and my kids are pretty small. It's hard to see them, and I was worried about their safety. So we started putting orange cones on the driveway off of Vaughan so they wouldn't just speed right in. And the big vans that they are, they actually ran those over. So I figure the best thing is it'll be better for the community and better for my family to eliminate one entrance into my property. When vans and cars pull into the property, they have to stop, wait for opposing traffic. It builds up the traffic on Vaughan Road. So eliminating that entrance would, I would think, you know, from what I understand, I'm a commercial developer. It's always favorable to the community, the traffic, and the safety to eliminate or have less entrances than more. So I think that's going to be a benefit to the community and for myself to eliminate that completely. And in order to do that, I'm now have one entrance in and one entrance out. So the most efficient and operable way for the cars to come in and out to my just, you know, reduce to one drive in now is to have this layout. And it increases my coverage by 3%. So I with the 3 catch basins in there, which is more than ample, more than what we were required to have, I believe it took care of the whole water issue. And this will be a benefit to my family and the community.
Is, again, just about the width of the driveway, is there a reason it has to be 20 feet versus, you know, something a little narrower?
We want 2 cars to be able to pass each other comfortably on the way in and the way out. If you reduce that like run in, that length, even if you reduced it to something, say 18, it's not something impactful enough to be like, hey, you know, we're taking that down, it's going to make a big difference. We're still going to keep those 3 leaching basins. We're still going to mitigate the water. As a functionality standpoint, logic stands to say, hey, keep that width so we can take a car in and a car out at the same time. As now there's only going to be one entry to this property.
What about though the continuation of the drive back to the garages? Can't you narrow that, because vehicles aren't, you don't need to have.
That actually comes to a standpoint of, you know, he has this garage and it's kind of protruding out so much to the left side if we're looking at this like from my angle, and for a car to like back out of the garage and do a turnaround, that other shaded portion, I don't know if there's a laser pointer, this other shaded portion right here, this like existing, is kind of blocking cars backing in and out of here, so we needed this width over here to actually make like a from here to there, functional turnaround.
But in the transfer from the garage area out to the circle, that could definitely be narrowed, right?
You're saying from
Yes.
from here
Right.
to there?
So I didn't want to have a situation, considering it's 3%, I didn't want to have a situation, and we did the exercise with on site where I would be leaving and a car would be coming in and we'd be, we'd have to go around each other. So really, every foot counted in order for two cars to pass by each other and not to stop, reverse, redirect, giving myself a lawn job to get around the car.
And we also showed that by trying to I told Chris, I'm like, let's just reduce the sport court. I mean, is it nicer to have it bigger? It's okay. Let's take it down and focus on the front because you're going to be using that every day. Your boys are driving soon. Let's make that driveway able to function if you're investing this into your home and community.
What is the material of the driveway?
Material is going to be pavers over here and then concrete over here. Whether that's exposed aggregate or regular concrete, it's to be decided.
Okay.
One of the things that we're asked to consider when reviewing these is one of the questions is, was this self-induced or self-inflicted, this condition? And I looked to all the surfaces that were covered just a couple of years ago. You were in compliance, and then I think you had 2.35% to work with, and then filled it right up to the 80%, and now there's really nothing left. So I'm struggling with understanding how I should vote on this, because it does seem like it was somewhat self-inflicted because of all the work that was done previously to it. It wasn't a condition of the lot, it wasn't a condition of anything pre-existing, it was all the things that were built previously that now bring it up to a point where there's nothing left according to the open space requirements. So just letting you know this is our job, this is what we're supposed to do, it's supposed to think about. And do you have anything to add regarding that? Or in that section of your application, there's supposed to be an explanation. Would a lesser variance than a request to give substantial relief to the applicant or be more consistent with justice to other properties? You said no, but there's no explanation.
So really what led this is eliminating the entrance to provide more safety and protection for the kids. And the most efficient way to have one driveway in and out was this coverage here. And we did the best in the back of the extras around the pool and sports court to reduce that in order to have this one driveway really work. If it's gonna have a problem where there's cars get locked and not be able to go around each other, I'd rather just keep that entrance or the second entrance off of Vaughn and kind of close it off with my own way, which I don't want to do. I think it'd be better for the traffic if it was eliminated. And I mean, I didn't think the 3% was.
Well, it's the old problem of where do you draw the line, right? I mean, is 3% okay? Well, maybe 5% is okay, and maybe 6% is okay. So I mean, again, our job is to look at this and to try to follow the steps and ask the right questions. And the question is, could a lesser variance give substantial relief? And to Commissioner Hostler's comment, it seemed like it made a lot of sense to maybe reduce the width of the driveway back to the garage. I mean, most of your traffic's going to be coming in, whipping around the circle, and kind of positioning to move on out again. I mean, if you've got two-way traffic going from the circle to your garage, I mean, you've got a very busy household.
I do have a busy household with the kids, and everyone drives around. I've been in the home since 2018. They just drive around to be in the backyard, and the cars actually do drive around. And that's why I wanted to have a little more space for them to get by each other, to tell you the truth.
I get that, and I just, I don't know about anybody else, but it puts me in kind of an awkward position to approve something like this when I don't see when I can see a possibility of reducing the impact when it's not being done. So
I would, if I may, I am your neighbor, by the way. I live right at the end of Hillcrest on Vaughn. So I appreciate the elimination of the entrance on Vaughn. I think that will be a major benefit to the community, and I think that should be factored into the considerations here because and certainly with younger boys, I could see how that would be a big problem with, traffic coming in and out and the disruption to the flow on Vaughn. So I think that, personally, I think it's a big improvement to just take it down to one entryway off of Hillcrest versus the two. And in my opinion, 2 or 3% is a very, very nice trade-off. Particularly with the catch basins. Has anyone done the math on what the catch basins will do?
They've gone back and forth. My engineer in HRC, they were more than sufficient.
So that makes up for the...
Correct. That makes up, I think, beyond the additional 3% runoff. You
Yeah,
are
I think
by
since you're,
far catching that.
if you're taking those steps proactively, I think we should acknowledge that stuff.
Is there any advantage, and I ask this of everyone on the commission, the Board of Appeals, is there any advantage to further researching this to resolve the different point of views? In which case that would be a table of the current proposal, either to approve or deny. Do you think you can do any more research?
We went back a few times on this.
Research for what issue? I'm confused. The basins or
Oh,
the
there's
width
a
of the-
3%, approximately 3% at risk here of nonconformance.
But if the basins,
And apparently there's, from your point of view, no other way to resolve it but to make a variance. And I've heard at least 2 different points of view on whether we should approve or not approve the variance. There's nothing else you can do.
If you're asking if there is like a scenario where we can get this under the 3% and keep this layout and not have the single entrance, the answer would be no.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
understand from your point of view,
Yeah.
you're ready to call the question.
The biggest research was on the water.
Would you like to say anything, Alana?
Yes, just to clarify any confusion, because I think there may be some. The question is not whether the catch basins in particular will alleviate the runoff. That is certainly a factor which can be considered by the board, but it is not the salient question. The question is whether the variance meets the standard of practical difficulty, and that is a multi-part question. The board has to find that this layout is not self-created, that there is an issue inherent on the property, not with the applicant themselves, but on the property that necessitates this particular layout, and that this is as close to the ordinance standard as possible. That this layout is necessitated by the difficulties on the property that are inherent and not self-created. It is not about the applicant or their particular family. It is about the ordinance standards for landscaped open space and not necessarily the runoff question.
Thank you.
Yes, and I would agree with that. And my questions around the catch basin or the runoff are just because we have an ongoing and increasing problem with runoff in the city. And what I heard was a 24 by 24 inch leaching basin. That's very small.
With stones around
The clean stone is like 10 foot by 10 foot, so
But relative to the size of the runoff in this driveway and the amount of water that's going to be coming off of that, that
I
is.
know they did provide calculations, they gave us a whole page of calculations of how much runoff and how much this would.
two of the basins are called out on the prints. I don't know where the third one is, but you've got all the dimensions right here. Is one of the, is the third basin the same dimensions as one of these two? Go right ahead.
I believe the third is in the rear of the property.
Okay, well, do the calculation, I don't know if they follow the exact size. I see the 24-inch by 48-inch.
Well, we're comfortable with the sizes of them, right? I'm not an engineer, but I wanna make sure I'm understanding it right then.
We were comfortable with the sizes they were proposing.
I think they actually had us change them before coming to this meeting.
Right.
To get here to this point. Mr. Mayor, if you could come back.
But the plans don't, at least the ones that we got for the notes and the details on the residential outdoor alteration only show two.
There's one we put in for our rear yard plan when we went to submit that in order to get the rear yard approved.
So that's not here.
It exists right now in the rear yard. Yeah, it's not in front of you, Mr. Chair, but in the rear yard, we are putting that in for additional water runoff from the rear yard. Even though our rear yard was under the proposed coverage, we thought it would please the planning commission to where we actually had to go, because our unique lot has mostly side yards, so we had to go to planning commission approval for everything. And in our planning commission, we had put a leaching basin in the backyard.
And it wouldn't be possible to put a little pull-off between the circle and the garage, so that if, if you've got traffic coming out of the garage at 30 miles an hour, or whatever the case may be, you've got a place where you can just pull off and let somebody by, and then you can, versus, increasing the width of the driveway. And again, this goes back to, this is not that I have any issue with the 20-foot driveway. I don't care. It's fine. I understand the two-way traffic. The problem I have is that I'm trying to go by the way we're supposed to decide these things. And the question is, can a lesser variance be achieved here? And I think the answer is yes, and I just don't know that you're saying you can't, but I think you can. And that's my position on it. Now, nobody has to listen to me here, but that's just where I'm coming from.
Can I just ask your guidance on, in your version of a lesser variance, are we talking about, is that like the way you see it as instead of 3%, it's 2.5? Is that kind of where you're coming?
Cause that's the challenge, right? I understand your point completely, right? We have,
I think,
at what point is it 2%, 4%, right? But then the balance is safety. Sure, no one's running a business out of there, but, I have younger kids and I have Amazon deliveries because my wife and I each work, and cars coming in and out, it happens more frequently, not all day, that's, a stretch, but that's the balance that we have to weigh is, two cars coming at the same time versus, is it 4%, 5%, 6%? At what point is, what's the magic number? There is no magic number. It's a case by
Would the
case
city's
basis.
attorney like to make a comment?
Yes, I would advise, the board's role is not to necessarily advise applicants on what percentage is acceptable to violate the ordinance. The answer is 0% ideally, but this is an appeals board. The question is limited, it's not a percentage question on what type of variance is acceptable. It's, does this ask meet the standard of practical difficulty? And one of the factual findings you must find is this self-created? Can the same result be achieved with a lesser variance? All of those factors add into place. Is this request necessary based on the features of this property? Is this property in a unique in such a way that it necessitates this design, that it is practically difficult for the homeowner to improve any other way? That is the question. So I'll just give an example. At the previous variances that the board considered, that property was a pre-existing non-conforming structure that pre-existed. The homeowner was built in the upper left-hand corner of the property, and had a feature in the back where there was a significant drop-off. Those were features on the property and pre-existing conditions that triggered a review of ordinances. So that the board found that that met the standard of practical difficulty. I'm not saying that that's every case. Obviously, there's variety, but that is an example of what practical difficulty means.
That was my point exactly. This is not a percentage. As an attorney, our job is not to define whether it's 4%, 2%. That has no bearing on it whatsoever.
Correct.
Well, and in looking at this, I think with an adjustment on the width of the driveway, you could get pretty close to the 80%. There's a substantial amount of square footage there if you went from 20 down to, let's say, 12 feet for, let's say, 75% of that section, and then you had a little turnout area. So again, going back to what I'm charged to do here, I look at it, I see a lesser possibility. I don't see it as being a safety issue. I mean, I've got a driveway, a long driveway, just like this one. It's no more than 10 or 12 feet wide, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm comparing, I'm just saying that these things exist and they're not considered unsafe.
Yes.
So that's just where I'm coming from, and
I do understand that, and I do think our practical difficulty, I'm not a resident of this neighborhood, I'm a contractor. And like our neighbor here said, there's not many homes still existing on Vaughn with this double entrance, and us eliminating that pre-existing condition from before we lived in this house, before my client lived in this house, that would kind of alleviate that and make it better for the community. And then the reason that percentage is brought up, because you know, you saying put this to 12 from 20 with a runoff. Well, how big is that runoff? From going from this 12 to 20, are you still in need of a variance because you're exceeding that 80%? I can't speak to the numbers of reducing that 8 foot would get us in that threshold of 80%. Would it get us closer? Yes. But at that point, is it worth it, that variance to go? That's just the whole percentage question, and it's not our place, I guess, to determine that percentage. That's just my point of view from things.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? In fairness to the robust discussion we've had, I'd be happy to make a motion, but I'd also defer to anyone else. I move to deny the request for this dimensional variance because the applicant has failed to establish practical difficulty for the following reasons. 1, strict compliance with the ordinance requirements would not unreasonably prevent the owner from improving their property. The owners can design a driveway that meets the landscape open space requirements. They are choosing not to. 2, a variance would not do substantial justice to the applicant and to other property owners. The landscape open space requirement preserves the character of the city. It permits reasonable development while maintaining the natural beauty of the land within the city. It is within the power of the homeowner to design a driveway which meets the landscape open space requirements. There are no unique circumstances on this property. The dual frontage on the lot is not within the issue in this case. The proposed design of the new driveway is the issue, and that is within the control of the applicant. Number 4, the applicant's problem is self-created. Homeowners added a number of accessory structures, including a pool house, pool fence, and a sports court to the property in 2025, which reduced the landscaped open space on the property to 82.35% to 80.02%. The homeowner is now proposing a driveway design which reduces the landscape open space below the ordinance requirements. The design includes a circular driveway component which eats into the landscape open space. This is not needed nor necessary to reduce the access points on the property or improve the functionality. It is simply a desired design feature. The applicants created this issue both with their 2025 improvements and their current proposed design of the driveway. 5, the granting of the variances will adversely affect the purposes or objectives of the master plan, as the goal of the master plan is to bring properties into compliance with the ordinance. There is no feature on this property which justifies granting a variance. In this case, the applicants need to work within the bounds of the ordinance to improve their property. So in summary, this is a motion to deny the variance request. Is there support?
Support.
Support.
There is support. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'd like you to raise your hands if you support a motion to deny the variance.
Mr. Chairman, could there be a roll call vote in this case? Could there be a roll call vote for the record?
Would you rather have it as a roll call vote?
Yes, please, for the record.
Please.
Nay.
Yes.
Make it loud.
I'm sorry.
Or I'm sorry, aye for the denial.
Yes.
Denied.
Denied. Mr. Hostler?
I support the denial.
Yeah.
Deny.
Okay. Mr. Raymond?
I vote against the denial.
Okay. Mr.
Shia,
Shea?
I vote against the denial.
Okay, and I apologize, I can't see you.
All right.
Carol,
And Mr. Carroll.
I vote against the denial.
Thank you very much.
May I speak?
Thank you. The motion to deny has passed, so the denial is in force. And you're welcome to make any comments you'd like to.
I wanted to speak before the motion. I didn't get a chance to about the uniqueness of the property. The fact that I have two very large side yards is very unique and a very small rear yard because I am off the road. The fact that I have a stream running to the back, it makes a lot of things. It created a 25-foot setback from a natural feature for me that is very unique. And if you see the full property here, which you cannot, I have a tail of the property that's behind my neighbor that it's completely unusable. I don't know if you have a view of the complete property.
It's my duty to tell you that this does not affect the vote nor the conclusion
Correct.
of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
That is
You're
correct.
welcome to go on, but the vote has been taken and recorded.
Is it a possibility to table so I could fully explain the uniqueness of
No.
the property?
No, the vote has been made, seconded, and has passed. It was a 4-3 vote. What is possible for the applicant to do now is to either appeal the decision of the board to the circuit court or to go back and redesign the driveway with a sufficiently different application, come back if a variance is needed, and to make all of the arguments that you wish to about the uniqueness of the property and include those arguments in the application for a variance. So those are the two options which are available to the applicant at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Anyone else concerned? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.